Beneath the shimmering lights of Chicago's towering skyline, where skyscrapers gleamed like monuments to ambition, Victor Cross sat alone in his sleek penthouse office. The vast space around him, though luxurious, felt oppressively silent. At just 40 years old, he had built a real estate empire that reshaped the city itself. Yet, there was an emptiness in his gaze, one that no amount of success could fill. With a reputation for calculated risks and ruthless precision, Victor was admired in the business world, but few saw the man behind the cold demeanor. Victor's life was defined by control of his company, his deals, and most importantly, his emotions. Since the tragic loss of his wife, Amelia, to a rare illness, he had buried himself in work, avoiding the unbearable weight of her absence. In his luxurious penthouse overlooking the Chicago skyline, Victor Cross seemed to have everything others could only dream of: power, wealth, and a real estate empire that kept growing. But beneath the glittering surface, Victor lived in a world of isolation that he had built for himself. The greatest pain of his life began 3 years ago, when his beloved wife Amelia passed away from a rare illness. Amelia wasn't just his partner, she was his anchor in a world consumed by ambition. She would often remind him to pause, to look at the sunsets from their balcony, and to cherish the simple joys of life. When she left, Victor's world crumbled, leaving behind only the echo of her laughter and the unbearable weight of silence. He buried himself in work, turning his company into his sole focus, as if contracts and deals could shield him from the unbearable weight of loss. Victor's days began early and were filled with meetings, contract signings, and long hours in the office, ending only when the city was fast asleep. He spent more time in his office than at home, and on those late nights his expansive penthouse felt like an empty shell, a place devoid of Amelia's laughter and light. Control was all Victor clung to, a shield against the memories and emotions he worked so hard to suppress. That night, rain poured relentlessly, turning the streets of Chicago into a cold, wet maze. Victor Cross had just left a long investor meeting, his mind still preoccupied with numbers and plans for his next big project. Behind the wheel of his luxury car, Victor sped through the empty streets, the rain hammering against the windshield. As his headlights swept over the sidewalk, he noticed a small figure lying motionless. At first, he thought it was just another homeless person or a drunk, a common sight in the city. But something about the scene made it impossible for him to look away. Victor slowed the car, his eyes fixed on the figure. A strange, unfamiliar feeling stirred within him, a compulsion he couldn't ignore. He pulled over, grabbed a large umbrella, and stepped out into the icy rain. The woman lay curled up on the sidewalk, her soaked hair plastered to her face. Her thin clothing offered no protection against the biting cold. Victor bent down and gently shook her shoulder. "Can you hear me?" he asked. But there was no response. The sight reminded Victor of Amelia, frail and helpless in her final days. A wave of emotion surged through him, battling with the cold logic that had governed his life for so long. For a moment he hesitated, his hand hovering over the steering wheel. But then a flicker of Amelia's face flashed in his mind, and he made a choice that felt both foreign and inevitable. Instead of calling for an ambulance, as he normally would, Victor lifted the woman carefully, carried her to the back seat of his car, and turned the vehicle toward his mansion. The rain continued to beat down, but for the first time in years, Victor's thoughts weren't consumed by work. A soft glow from the bedside lamp illuminated the quiet guest room as Lila Brooks slowly woke up. Her eyes fluttered open, meeting the unfamiliar ceiling above her and the plush comfort of the bed beneath her. For a moment, she couldn't recall where she was. When she tried to sit up, a wave of dizziness pulled her back down. Footsteps echoed in the room, and she spotted a tall man standing by the window. It was Victor Cross, his face stern, but his eyes carrying an unexpected concern. "You're awake," Victor said, his voice unusually warm. "How are you feeling?" Lila shook her head weakly and murmured, Where am I?" Victor pulled a chair closer to the bed, sitting down in front of her. "You collapsed on the sidewalk last night. I brought you here." After a few moments of silence, Lila sat up slightly, struggling to find her voice. "I'm Lila Brooks. Thank you for helping me." When Victor tried to learn more about her circumstances, Lila hesitated, but bit by bit her heartbreaking story began to unfold. Lila was once a promising young artist, with her work celebrated in major exhibitions. But her life took a tragic turn after a devastating car accident that claimed her entire family. The sole survivor, Lila not only lost her loved ones, but also faced overwhelming debts. She was forced to sell her home and take on any job just to survive. When she tried to return to her art, a major agency, Harbor & Vale, approached her with an enticing offer to promote her work globally. Instead of honoring their promises, the company began meddling with her creative process, forcing her to create pieces to fit their demands. When Lila resisted, they terminated her contract. The company not only destroyed her career, but also spread rumors that tarnished her reputation and left her without opportunities. "I tried," Lila said, her voice breaking, "but in the end, I lost everything." Victor listened intently, a surge of empathy rising within him. For the first time, he didn't see a stranger but a kindred spirit, a broken soul, much like himself. Lila Brooks's story lingered in Victor Cross's mind, haunting him with every detail. The image of her sitting quietly on the bed, her voice trembling as she recounted her painful past, reminded him of Amelia, the wife he couldn't save. For the first time in years, Victor felt an unfamiliar compulsion. He realized that the years he had spent drowning himself in work to escape his grief had turned him into someone who only cared about numbers and deals. But with Lila, he saw a chance to do something meaningful, not just to help her, but to make amends with himself. Victor didn't stop at listening. He decided to dig deeper into Lila's situation. He contacted his trusted private investigation team and asked them to gather all the information they could about Harbor & Vale and its leader, James Alcott. A few days later, the report landed on Victor's desk. He read every word carefully, and with each line, a heavy guilt began to settle over him. James Alcott, the head of Harbor & Vale, wasn't just ruthless in the art industry. He was also a former business partner. Years ago, Victor had signed a significant deal with Alcott that helped Harbor & Vale expand its influence, leading to the downfall of artists like Lila. Victor set the file down, his eyes clouded with thought. He realized that even if he hadn't directly caused Lila's suffering, his blind ambition had played a role in enabling such injustices. For the first time in years, Victor felt his carefully controlled world crack. He knew he had to act, not just to help Lila reclaim her life, but to take responsibility for the unintended consequences of his own choices. In the days that followed, Victor Cross and Lila Brooks spent more time together. What began as cautious conversations gradually deepened into heartfelt exchanges as they shared their pain and struggles with each other. Lila started to feel more at ease around Victor. His care went beyond helping her recover. It showed in the way he listened intently to stories she had never told anyone. Sitting by the fireplace in his expansive mansion, Lila opened up about her heartbreaking memories of losing her family and the collapse of her career. Victor, once a man of cold calculations, began to open up as well. One evening, as Lila recounted her lowest moments, Victor unexpectedly shared his own pain. He spoke of Amelia, the wife who had been the light of his life, and how her illness had taken her away from him. "I keep wondering if I could have done more," Victor said, his eyes fixed on the dancing flames in the fireplace. Lila paused, understanding the weight of his guilt. "You did everything you could. But sometimes, life doesn't give us a choice," she replied softly. From their personal stories, they found a shared empathy in their grief. But more than that, they began to build a bond rooted in trust and sincerity. As Victor supported Lila in rebuilding her life, she rediscovered her passion for art. With his encouragement, Lila picked up a paintbrush for the first time in years. Her new works were filled with emotion and hope, things she had believed were lost forever. Victor realized that helping Lila wasn't just changing her life. It was also helping him reconnect with a part of himself he thought he had buried after Amelia's death. Lila Brooks' comeback wasn't just the rebirth of her career, it was also a turning point in Victor Cross's life. Seeing Lila's new paintings brimming with emotion and hope, Victor realized it was time to do more to help her heal from the pain she had endured. Victor decided to organize an art exhibition to celebrate Lila and her work. He leveraged his vast network to ensure the event would be unforgettable. For weeks, Victor and his team worked tirelessly to perfect every detail. On the night of the exhibition, the gallery was packed with art enthusiasts, journalists, and admirers. Lila's paintings were displayed throughout the room, and every attendee marveled at the way she used color to convey deep, powerful emotions. Midway through the event, Victor stepped onto the stage, his gaze steady yet gentle. He announced the creation of the Amelia Cross Foundation, a charitable organization dedicated to supporting young artists in overcoming adversity. "This foundation is not only to honor my late wife," Victor said, "but also to support talents like Lila, artists who deserve protection and the opportunity to flourish." For Lila, that night wasn't just about reclaiming her career, it was also a testament to Victor's transformation. After the exhibition, in a quiet moment, Victor gently took her hand. "Thank you for everything you've done," Lila said, her eyes shimmering with emotion. Victor replied, his voice low and sincere, "Lila, you've changed my life. You've shown me that redemption isn't just about taking action. It's about opening up and connecting. I want you to know you don't have to walk this journey alone anymore." Lila smiled, and in their eyes was understanding, hope, and a shared belief in a new beginning. Under the soft golden glow of the evening lights, Victor Cross and Lila Brooks stood side by side at the gallery entrance. The laughter and admiration from the guests faded into the background, leaving a quiet, intimate moment between them. For both of them, this night was more than just the culmination of hard work. It was the beginning of a new chapter filled with hope. As the crowd began to thin, Victor turned to Lila. In the glow of the decorative lights, her eyes shimmered with contentment and a newfound belief in the future. Victor smiled, but this time it wasn't the practiced smile of a powerful businessman. It was the genuine smile of a man who had rediscovered the true meaning of life. "Lila," he began, his voice low but full of emotion, "since the day I met you, my life has changed. You haven't just helped me make amends with my past, you've taught me how to love again." Lila looked at him, surprise and emotion filling her face. Victor knelt down, pulling a small velvet box from his pocket. Inside was a stunning diamond ring that caught the glow of the lights. Victor took a deep breath, the warmth of the evening lights casting a golden glow over Lila's face. "Lila," he said, his voice trembling slightly, "I never thought I'd have another chance at happiness, but you've shown me that love is worth fighting for. I want to spend the rest of my life protecting you, building a future with you. Lila Brooks, will you marry me?" Tears streamed down Lila's cheeks as she paused, overwhelmed with joy. After a brief moment, she nodded, a radiant smile spreading across her face. "Yes, I will." In that moment, it wasn't just a proposal. It was a promise. A promise between two people who had once been lost but had found light and meaning in each other's presence. After a warm and intimate wedding held in the garden of their estate, Victor Cross and Lila Brooks began a new chapter of their lives, filled with love, purpose, and happiness. They were not just partners in life, but also collaborators in building a brighter future for others. 6 months into their marriage, Lila shared a life-changing piece of news with Victor. She was pregnant, and not with one but 2 baby girls. Victor was momentarily speechless, his eyes welling up with emotion. He embraced Lila tightly and whispered, "You haven't just given me a new life, you've given me a family." In the months that followed, their home was filled with joy and anticipation as they prepared for the arrival of their daughters. Victor, who had once been an emotionally detached businessman, now spent his days caring for Lila, setting up the nursery, and even attending parenting classes for first-time fathers. When their twin girls were born, Victor named them Amara and Sophie, honoring both his late wife and the transformative journey he had undergone. Watching Victor cradle the 2 babies in his arms, Lila felt an overwhelming sense of gratitude and love. "We finally have a real family," she said softly, tears shining in her eyes. Despite the demands of raising 2 newborns, Victor and Lila never lost sight of their shared mission. The Amelia Cross Foundation continued to flourish, supporting hundreds of young artists and hosting major exhibitions that provided new opportunities for emerging talents. Lila, inspired by her growing family, returned to her studio to create new works. Her paintings often depicted moments of joy and intimacy, from Victor playing with their daughters to quiet evenings when the entire family sat together. "I never thought I could feel so complete," Victor said one evening as he and Lila watched their daughters sleep. You and the girls are the most precious gifts in my life." Leela smiled, squeezing his hand gently. "And I know that with you, anything is possible, as long as we're together." They were no longer just two lost souls who had found each other. They were a family, creating a future filled with light, love, and laughter. As Amara and Sophie grew older, Victor Cross and Lilla Brooks entered a new phase of life, one filled with challenges but also immense joy. The twins, each with distinct personalities, became the heart of their family. Amara was energetic and curious, constantly exploring the world around her. Sophie, on the other hand, was quiet and artistic, sharing her mother's love for painting. Weekends were filled with moments of laughter as Victor tended the garden with Amara, while Lila taught Sophie how to mix colors and create her first masterpieces in the studio. The house, once a cold and empty mansion, was now a warm and vibrant home. The Amelia Cross Foundation, under Victor and Lila's leadership, continued to expand its reach. One of their most ambitious projects was the creation of the Cross Art Academy, a place where young artists could learn, create, and showcase their work. Lila took on the role of lead mentor, guiding young talents through both personal and professional challenges. One day, at the Academy's grand opening ceremony, Victor stood before a crowd of hundreds of young artists and supporters. In his speech, he said with heartfelt conviction, "Life has taught me that not everyone gets a second chance, but if we can offer that chance to someone else, we're not just changing their lives, we're creating a legacy worth remembering." As the event concluded, Victor caught Lila's gaze, her eyes shining with pride. "You've changed so much," she said softly. "From a man who was once so alone, you've built a world where everyone feels welcomed and valued." Victor took her hand, smiling. "And it's all because of you. You've helped me become the best version of myself." That evening, as the family sat by the fireplace, the twins fast asleep in their parents' arms, Lila asked quietly, "Victor, do you think we could do even more?" Victor looked at her, his expression resolute. "We won't stop. What we're building isn't just for today, it's for the future, for Amara, Sophie, and everyone out there who needs a chance to shine." With love, determination, and compassion, Victor and Lila built not just a happy family, but a legacy that the world would remember for generations to come.